Okay, hello. Robert De Niro, Trump, why are they connected? I'm going to show you why they're connected um, to do with 9/11 and to do with the Fibonacci cycle. Wow, okay. So, there's been a few people that have done some videos on this recently, and I'm just going to chime in, basically. But I wanted to show you this because it's pretty interesting. So, what I have here, I have the Fibonacci sequence reduced, okay, and it's the first 24 digits of the Fibonacci sequence reduced. Now what you'll find is that that sequence or that cycle repeats over and over and over again. So if you reduce all the digits of Fibonacci, what you'll find is that there's 24 repeating digits in a pattern, in the same pattern, okay, and this is what we've got here. Here's the start and stop point where this green line is, okay? And what you notice is that 1 is the start, and we're going around this way, and then 9 is the end, okay, right here. Okay, so 1 starts, and then we get to 9, which is the end. Now, you'll notice that what is those, undo, what those points are is 9/11, okay? 9/11 is a marker for the end and beginning of a cycle, okay? You could also go as far as to say we've even got, 2001 here with numerology here. You just put a couple of zeros in, and you've got your 2001 in there as well, okay? But it's the beginning and end of a cycle, I mean, it would make sense that, if we were going to see something coming up to happen. Oh, look, there you go, the 19th of August. That would be a good date for an end date, But we're going to be looking at numbers around, the end of like these numbers here, or maybe numbers that oppose that in the table. Okay, so this is the end here. We also have these numbers right here, or we could extend it just a little bit. And this number here, the opposite maybe of whatever number whatever numbers we're looking at towards the end of the cycle here. So what's interesting about this is you'll notice that the number that I've just picked out actually happens to be Robert De Niro's birthday, August 17th. What's interesting is Trump's birthday is in here as well. Yeah, 14th of June is right here. And then we have a big set of numbers in between. Yeah, and of course, we've got the 88 right in the center of this thing right here. Yeah, and 88 again. The importance of 88 is that it's it's in opposition, or it balances. Yeah, it balances that 11 there that's in 9/11. Okay, so 88. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it, but 88 is a direct reference to 9/11. Okay, so anytime you see that, it's a direct reference to 9/11. I'm not going to go through all the little bits of connections to 88 and Trump and all the stuff in Back to the Future. And I think I think it was 88. Finis Temporis's video had Taxi Driver, and there was an 88 in that. And I'm not going to go through all those connections right now. What I want to show you though is this 7889 number here. I want to show you what it points to, okay? Because it actually references, if I'm going to be, I'm going to explain this to you why it references it, but it references back to 9/11 in a strange way. In a strange way. Also notice that the numerology that is right here as well, towards the end of that thing, yeah? If we were to read that number backwards, 18.2 or 218, we could get out of that if we wanted to. And 218 again tied to, it's actually tied to 9/11. I'll show you why in just a second with Lucas numbers. But 218 again is Pluto stuff. Okay, so let me show you that 7889 thing And you know, these two birthdays are, you know, either side of that thing. Okay. And again, you could almost say that, you know, between there is almost like a mirror line. You know, I don't really want to spend ages explaining this chart, but you can see there's a reason why I set it up the way I did. Okay, with the two nines top to bottom. Other than these two nines, which sum to 18, that are opposite each other, every other number that's opposite each other sums to 9. Okay, so 99 is really important. The number 9 is really important to do with all this stuff, and the number 18 as well. So let me show you a different chart now. Let me show you that number jump, and then I'll show you a different chart. Hang on. Let's show you the 7889 jump. I've got it back here somewhere. I think it's this one. Okay, 7889 jump. Yeah. So I went from 9/11 2001, and it took us to 4/18 2023. What's so special about 4/18? Well, if we read this, I don't know. I didn't go and check that actual date to see if anything weird happened on that date. But if we read the number backwards and go to the same numerology but a different date in the year, we could go to the 14th of August, which is super duper special to do with 9/11, to do with Pluto, and I'm going to show you why that's important here in just a second, right? So let me show you why that date is super duper important. I want to go back to this, and so where we're getting to here is we're getting to a 814 number. Okay, let me make that clear. We're getting to an 814 number. Okay, and anything to do with 148, I'm telling you, this is the orbital difference between a year and Pluto's sort of synodic year is 1.48 days. Okay, so you know, these numbers that have been pretty important with the 4/8 eclipse, you know, this is to do with Pluto, right? So anyway, let me show you why this 814 is important now. What I really want to do is go to this, and what I'll show you is we'll go to Lucas numbers. I'm going to show you something that I did. I think I did a video on this like Christmas time. So let me show you this. So this is Lucas numbers here, right? This line right here. So if we look at this is the midpoint of the table right here. Okay, let me put a cross there or something. So that's the midpoint. That's the balance point of the table between 11 and 18. Okay, and so this is to do with, not only is it to do with, really it's a balance point between 10 and 12 as well. So the reason why this is important is because our very special number 11 forms that balance point between 10 and 12. Okay, 10 being to do with like metaphysical, they're kind of more metaphysical numbers, and then 12s tend to be more like within the physical domain. Okay, anyway, these two like, I guess you call them, I don't know, I guess you call them cycles, right? Are balanced at a point right here. This doesn't make much sense right now, but let me show you something. So this is the midpoint. I'll just put one little dot there. We can reduce these two numbers, the 11 and the 18, together, which would give us a 2 and a 9. Okay, but we could do it individually. Okay, and we could reduce the 11 first, which would give us a 2/18. Okay, or we could go ahead and reduce the 18 to a 9, and that would give us 9/11. Okay, or 11/9. Okay, so you see the 2/18 to do with Pluto and the 9/11, and there's a lot of references, of course, in Back to the Future with plutonium and Pluto references in Back to the Future. Again, this is why I think that that's in there, is because it's referencing all this stuff. Okay. Now, let me show you something else which is interesting about this. So this is the midpoint right here. This is like the balance point. X marks the spot, right? If I tot up all these numbers right here, if I add them together, right, these numbers come to 28. Okay. Now, if I go back from 9/11, if I just call this 9/11 for right now, okay, because that was our big date. So if I go back from 9/11, 28 days, guess where it takes me? It takes me to 8/14. Okay, the 14th of August is this start point right here. Yeah, so that 8/14 also ties in with the start of Lucas numbers here, 213. Okay, 8/14 is kind of a hidden thing here, and it's 28 days later from 8/14. Yeah, the film 28 days later takes us to 9/11. So what? Okay, you've got an 8/14 there, Dan. That doesn't mean really jack, apart from, like I just said, 1.48 days is the difference in orbits between our orbit, if you like, and Pluto's orbit, right? I'd rather say the Sun and Pluto, but anyway. If I go ahead and I add up these numbers here now, right? You don't want that grey number, that's just an in-between total there, right? But if I add up 18, 29, 47, 76, 123, 199, and 322, if I add those numbers up, I should get, I can't remember what I get now, it's 804, should be 814. Okay. Now that starts looking quite special, because this is like I was saying, this is the end of the cycle here. And if we add all these up, look at this. And it's actually interesting that we're going to 12 as well with the 2001 numerology there as well. 8/14 is now matching up with the start date there. Our total for these numbers here is matching up with the place where we get to if we go back 28 days from 9/11. So this becomes even more interesting. Well, what's even more interesting is if I add those two things up, okay, my total is going to be 842. What's so special about 842? Read it backwards. 248 is I think it's the sidereal orbit for Pluto. 248 years. So this becomes really interesting with the tie back to Pluto now, this whole sequence in Lucas numbers. And there is some nice other stuff with Lucas numbers that you can get to Christmas as well through 213, but I'm not doing that right now. So this is, I mean, you know, to me that's pretty interesting. Now what we have to remember as well, okay, so this 8/14 number comes up with Trump and Robert De Niro, right? So let's get rid of all this crud, because you'll hear me in some of my other videos. I've talked about the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Mickey Mouse and Pluto, and what I'll say is these numbers here, right at the center of this thing. Now remember, the numerology that's in here is 718. This is Robert De Niro's birthday numbers in here, albeit we've got a couple extra ones, right? So what's fascinating about that is, if you recall, when I did some stuff on the two different Pluto orbits and the return dates. Now the return date, of course, one of the return dates is actually the Queen's birthday, is the 21st of April, and the other one is Trump's birthday for the other cycle, for the other set of orbit, well, for the other orbit is Trump's birthday, and that's the sidereal orbit, and that is the 14th of June. With respect to Pluto returning from a beginning point of the 4th of July 1776. Okay, and again the Queen's birthday is in relationship to the synodically adjusted orbit of Pluto, and that would have been her birthday if she was still alive last year. The midpoint between those two dates is, or was, okay, this number here, the 17th of November, okay, 2023. Now, you know, this is the midpoint here, right here, and that 17th, you know, ties into this. Now, the interesting thing, that's the midpoint for Pluto. That's, if you like, Pluto's birthday right there. And if we look at this number here, that happens to be Mickey Mouse's birthday. The 18th of November is Mickey Mouse's birthday. Okay? So, what we have is we have Pluto and Mickey Mouse's birthday right here. Okay? And those numbers happen to be Robert De Niro's birthday numbers as well. Coincidence, huh? What's interesting about that is the tie-in now with Robert De Niro. I think actually like a year or so ago when I did some stuff on 187, I said Robert De Niro is pretty interesting because the connection with De Niro and the Spanish word dinero, which is money, you know, it's a similar sounding word, not spelt the same, I don't think, but similar sounding. And that just means money, right? And the big 187 on the money, the thing that I really want to show you actually is this is the De Niro right here, and this dude here, his gematria, of course, is a 187, and there is a number jump in here that actually takes you to 187. Actually, I did a video. Oh, I think it was it probably was last year, maybe the year before. I don't know how long I've been doing this nonsense now. But anyway, anyway, actually, I think it might have been the year before, to be quite honest. Now, think about it. But anyway, 187. There is a number jump in here, and it ties back to. For those of you that have followed along with this stuff, let me just go back over it. So the rest of the people watching this ain't make no sense, but we've got 9/11 over here, okay, with the leaves and berries, 254th day of the year, and then we do a 155 day jump here with these leaves and berries, and it takes us to 213, okay, the 13th of February. Now remember what I was just saying about 814. So it's a potential. 814 is a potential date, definite date of interest, because if you know that if you know that code, or if you know that decode, then 213 could potentially be 814. Okay, if you know the if you know the code. Okay, but that would be very difficult to get to without like a whole bunch of, like, it's taken me a long time to get to that, so that would be really difficult for people to get to. But anyway, so that's an interesting thing that 814 ties into this 213 here. But you can also go another 155 days, okay, and in a normal year that would take you to 187. In a normal year, it would take you to 187. I'm pretty sure, which is the the 18th now. This 187 is the 18th of July. Okay, and like I said, I've got a video in the back catalogue there about it. So the 18th of July again is another date to look at. Yeah, Demolition Man 187. And oh, where am I going with this? And then there's another 55 day jump which takes you back to 9/11. So it's all 55s. It's two 155 jumps and then a 55-day jump. This year, it's a little bit different, and there's a couple of references which I'll talk about in just a second. But this year it's 311. Okay, 311 is pretty interesting for the number jump, because not only is that numerology associated with another guy that's linked to money. In fact, Trump's linked to money, heavily linked to money. Money, money, money. You know that song. But so Trump's linked to money, and De Niro is linked to money, and this next character, Billy Idol, Bill, the $1 bill, Billy, Bill, I, one, and dollar, Billy Idol. He's super duper linked with it, and he has a song called 311 Man, and he also has numerology with his birthday, 311. Okay, so 311 day jump now this year actually takes us from 9/11 through to the 18th of July. So it's pretty interesting that it's a possibility for a date. What did I want to say? There is also one other thing, is that 311 is also another fold in the dollar bill. Okay, so you can get a 311 out of the dollar bill fairly easily. In fact, it's the Great Scott 311, the 30th of November. So there's a lot of references to 311. 311 actually in the chart of Lorraine is a direct reference. Let me show you it. Is also a direct reference. If we go to 3 and 11, it's a direct reference to 254th day of the year, 9/11. So 311 has a lot of tie-ins, and it is a possible. I mean, it's a possible date because it ties back in with this date here. Yeah, 17th of. You can pull the 17th of August out of that. Anyway, I'm probably going to leave it there because I need to be quiet now because my boy's probably trying to sleep. I'm making a ton of noise. I think I've covered everything that really I wanted to. I think normally, I want to say normally the 199th day of the year, maybe, or 100. I don't know. It's one of those numbers. 199 ties in with the days a year. I think for on a normal year for the 17th of August. What am I saying? The 17th of August now. the 18th of July. Okay. I'm leaving it there. I'm too tired. And I think I've covered everything, right? I think I've gone through all the, so that's our little tie back with De Niro, Bob, 808, Bob De Niro, and this tie-in with Trump to 814. So 814 is really, really super duper interesting. The film 28 Days Later with the zombie apocalypse. Anyway, I'm leaving it there. Well, I bet I have forgotten something. But anyway, I'm leaving it there. Right, thanks for watching. Cheers. Right, bye.